Education Minister Christopher Pyne has called on his own party to help women enter Parliament. We're joined by the federal Liberal member for Boothby, Andrew Southcott. Mr Southcott, good morning.
Good morning, Angus, and good morning to your listeners.
So what needs to change to entice young women into politics?
Look, the first thing is, what we often find in pre-selections is we have a number of men who are, jostling for the position, and sometimes it is much harder to encourage, women to stand for those pre-selections. So that's probably one thing that needs to change. But I think the first thing is a recognition that the Liberal Party can do much better. What we see at the federal level, only 22% of our parliamentarians are women. Only 16% of the ministry are women. So we can do much better. We can get very focused on how we do it, whether we do it through quotas or targets. But it's really something that needs to be owned by all of the Liberal Party, and people, it means from the membership, from members of Parliament. We all need to focus on encouraging more women to stand, and especially stand for winnable seats and safer seats as well. So that's I really do strongly endorse what Christopher Pyne said, but it's also consistent with Peta Credlin made similar comments around the time of our federal conference late in June. Malcolm Turnbull in mid-July said, he wanted to be a champion for change in this area. It's done in the private sector. So it's not just an issue for women, but men as well really can be champions for change in terms of encouraging a culture that, we need to recognise that our political opponents, the Labor Party, they've had quotas for 20 years and they're now going to a much higher quota, but they do have, much more, they have a much higher proportion of women in their parliaments, in their ministries, and so the Liberal Party, I think, can do much better on this front.
You mentioned Peta Credlin's call to arms a month or so ago. That was to women in the Liberal Party, especially to fight sexism. This has sort of faded from the collective memory. Maybe it's a little bit more, less faded for people actually in the party. But how can this issue be kept at the forefront? Because we do hear these calls pretty regularly, and then we forget about them.
Look, the important thing is a recognition that, unless the Liberal, and it needs concerted effort, from the membership, from key players in the party to recognise that unless we do address this, we will not be competitive with the Labor Party. If the Labor Party looks more like contemporary Australia than we do, then we will have a problem. So it really does need a concerted effort. And as I said, I do welcome the comments from and endorse the comments from Peta Credlin, from Malcolm Turnbull, and now Christopher Pyne. And it seems there's pretty broad agreement that the Liberal Party does need to do much better on this front. There's, not everyone's agreed on, what the proper mechanism for that should be, but certainly we do need to do much better right across the board.
It is great that the Liberal Party is looking to tackle this head-on, but it does worry me that the terms you're talking about are very competitive terms. You're looking at beating Labor in this, not necessarily about gender equality. Shouldn't that be how this is framed, as opposed to making sure you have more women than your opponents?
Okay, well, I take your point. No, gender equality is an important principle, and we're not doing well on that front. We are a political party though, and we do want to be competitive with our opponents. That's one of our important things. But ultimately, if you have governments which look like, which reflect our community and, reflect all parts of our community, then you'll have much better governments and you'll have much better parliaments, in my view.
We're joined by Andrew Southcott, talking the Liberals seeking more women in Parliament. Women wanting to start families need to know they will get the support from their workplace. How can, Canberra and the Liberal Party especially give that support?
I'm not sure I follow the point. So we've done a number of things to make sure that to encourage work and family balance, and also in terms of, we originally had a very generous scheme on paid parental leave. We've have watered that down, but we do give a lot of support to families as well. I think what we see is a recognition in the private sector as well that we do need to, women are more than half of our population. They're a very important part of our human capital, and we need to make sure that they have as many, that everyone has as many opportunities as possible to participate in the economy and to fulfil their potential.
Labor's higher quota won't kick into a decade, into 2025. What can the Liberals do in the next decade to, again, maybe to use those competitive terms to get one up on the opposition?
Well, what it really means, it's a matter for the entire party. I mean, we do have we have competitive democratic pre-selections, largely rank and file pre-selections, and it's really a message to the rank and file that we've probably got three or four elections. Now, if we don't improve on where we are now, then the look of Labor will be markedly different from us, and it will be at a disadvantage, I would say.
Oh, Mr. Southcott, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Angus. It's great to talk with you.